Nothing changes instantaneously. In a gradually heating bathtub, you'd be boiled to death before you knew it. Our Father, who art in heaven. Seriously? What the actual fuck?
Gilead doesn't care about children. Gilead cares about power.
Why does healing have to be the only goal? Why can't we be as furious as we feel?
For whatever man sows, so shall he reap.
Welcome to Above the Garage.
Hi, friends. Welcome to our analysis of Season 4, Episode 4, which is entitled Milk. Let's do our random introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Helen.
Hi, I'm Kimberly.
Hi, I'm Violet.
Hi, I'm Marigold.
And I'm Kate. So this episode is written by J.C. Heldrick and directed by Christina Cho. New director this episode. And the episode opens with the sound of June and Janine panting, and the picture opens with June cutting the shackles off Janine. What is she using to cut them off?
Looks like shrapnel.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah, it looks like metal or something.
That would be sharp. Okay. And Janine's trying to go back to see if Alma and Brianna are okay, which is like really sad. And June's like trying to force her to accept that the others are dead and they need to go now to avoid the same fate. And finally, Janine listens. It's nighttime when they get to a train. Janine wants to go back to Boston where they know people. And June's like, no, we're going west and we're going to find Mayday. And she hears Guardian say that a train is going to the front in Chicago. And June wants to jump on that. And Janine starts panicking. Why would we go to the front? People die in wars. And June promises she won't let anything happen to her, which is, of course, entirely out of June's power, especially obvious after the last episode. But it's enough to convince Janine, and they run and climb on the roof of a train and drop into a car, Indiana Jones style. But it's not snakes. It's milk. Ew. They're going to smell so bad. It's such a funny choice for the show. I mean, I'm sure that it was well thought out, and there are many reasons for choosing milk.
I don't know why they didn't just like go into one of those little trucks like they
just jump in.
That tank.
That's what I also wondered, but I guess they would be harder to be found in the milk car.
I looked up what they used like to make it look like milk, and it said the liquid filling the tank in which June and Janine stow away to Chicago was supposed to be milk, but it really was unsweetened vanilla soft serve mixed with water. Madeline Brewer said they couldn't do anything that would have a sediment that would fall to the bottom, and it had to be opaque enough so that our red robes could not be seen if we went under. She adds that she and co-star Elizabeth Moss were in the tank for about 12 hours.
Holy shit. Are you serious?
Yeah. It says, we're just swimming around. It was really fun, apparently. Although she said she had an allergic reaction to it, but she said, got a rash on my skin and I was fine. That was an interview with a TV Line.
That is
wow,
enjoyable. I'm glad that you found that.
I feel like Maddie, out of like all the cast, like would just like find it fun. Not that
exactly.
Yeah,
but
that was definitely the right casting choice for that scene.
They would have to make that heated, surely. Like that would have been absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Sure they had to. Yeah.
The symbolism of milk. Milk is a powerful symbol within most cultural traditions. It is the fluid of eternal life, fertility, abundance, food of the gods, the first human diet. It flows freely in the promised land of Canaan. Okay. And it symbolizes mother. It is deeply connected with life itself. Anyway, I am quite sure it wasn't a random choice, but it is so funny. And also, that's delightful. They were actually swimming in soft serve vanilla.
Yeah.
That sounds tasty. 12 hours though, man.
It's pruny skin at the end of the day.
Oh,
Probably.
yes. Anyway, when the train starts moving, the milk does too. And it seems quite possible they're going to drown in milk if June doesn't find the drain. She sure is here, but she finds it. And for some reason, I thought it was really cute the way she said, I found it twice to Janine.
I just really couldn't breathe during it because I was just like, this is my night. Like every one of my nightmares happening at once. Like, do you guys think they could touch the bottom? Because that was stressing me out. Like when it was moving.
I got like my feeling was they were treading.
Yeah.
Milk, but
that's awful.
Then we're in Rita's kitchen and she's making dough just like she did in Gilead. It's kind of funny to see those shots of her making it from scratch because we're so used to seeing her doing that. But then you remember she's in Canada and she doesn't have to, but old habits die hard. And she was in Gilead a long time. When Rita sets down the bread, we hear that it's Moira dining with her, and Moira immediately blurts out that there's no record of Rita's sister or nephew in any of the refugee camp databases, which is sad. But Moira tells her she'll keep looking. The Catholics were really good at forging passports, which was true in World War II also. The Catholics saved hundreds of thousands of Jews from being murdered by the Nazis during World War II by forging documents as well as hiding people in monasteries and convents. So probably a reference to that. But back to the scene, Rita accurately senses that Moira has another bomb to drop, and she does. Serena wants to see her. Rita wants to know why. After all, she told the court everything. Serena must be furious. And Moira points out that a lot of girls she knows would kill for that kind of closure that's being offered to Rita right now, or she can just let her rot.
I saw that there were welcome like flowers on Rita's table. So I just wondered who those were from. Are they from like Moira? I also find it like interesting that it seems that Rita has her own place. I'm just curious, like what the refugees' like life and process is like once they make it to Canada. Like, do they have their own money? Like all that.
Yeah, I think I remember I guess it's when Moira is helping the soldier, or I don't know. There's something where she like hands them some stuff, and they get. Maybe it's Moira actually. I think it's Moira getting some things when she arrives in Canada. She's being given like a certain amount of money, and it's like a really weirdly specific number that I guess was like the government's like number that they allot to each refugee. And she got like some like gift cards or something, or phone card.
Phone card. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So I guess they give them like a starter package and then support them to find jobs and stuff after that.
This scene also just kind of shows that what I was thinking, that Rita was really religious before Gilead, like a proper Catholic, not like Gilead's bullshit Bible.
Yeah,
right.
And she's maintained it, which is impressive. I don't think I would have. But we immediately see her decision. The next scene is Rita visiting Serena in her luxurious cell, and Serena's ecstatic and says, "Praise be for his mercy." And Rita just says, "Ma'am," and repeats "ma'am" when Serena says she must be wondering why she asked her here. "Yes, ma'am." And it feels so much like a slave owner relationship still, even though Serena's trying to market it as friendship. But it made me really uncomfortable, the ma'ams. And Serena hands her the sonogram. Serena hands her the sonogram, and Rita still doesn't comprehend until Serena shows off her growing belly. How pregnant is Serena at this point? Would she have a belly?
I don't know. I don't think she's very pregnant, and she's wearing bloody maternity clothes.
If she knows that it's a boy, it must be a couple months.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You can, if you're over 35 years old, they do like blood tests now that tell you earlier on. I don't know, maybe more time has passed than it feels like. Maybe
like 2 months or something.
Yeah, but you don't really show until 3 months. Definitely don't need to wear maternity clothes.
Yeah. No. And where is she getting these clothes from? Like, does like Tuello, like her boyfriend, go and like, go to like Bloomingdale's or something?
Oh my God, he probably does shop for her.
And why is she wearing heels? She's like in this silk pajama and heels.
And she says, "Oh, I can't be on my feet for too long." And I was like, "Bitch, you've been pregnant for like 5 minutes."
I know.
And she's wearing heels, so that sentence makes no sense.
It just reminded me of like back in Gilead when June got pregnant, or like was pregnant for like 5 minutes, and she would say all these things like, "Oh, is this happening with the baby yet? Oh, is this happening with the baby yet?" And Rita was always like, "No, it's way too early for that. That's
not how it works."
Like, no.
Just desperate for it to be something.
Yeah, Rita's really happy. She does love babies, and she proclaims it's a miracle and says she didn't think Fred could. And Serena goes on about how Gilead really works, cleaning up the environment, cleaned up his sperm apparently in record time. Rita remarks also that Fred must be thrilled, and Serena tells her that she hasn't told him and she doesn't intend to. She thinks God chose this moment while they're separated so she wouldn't tell Fred. And then Serena has the nerve to say, "And now you're here to help me care for this little boy." I get so mad.
Do you guys think that we know that Rita had a son, and do you think like Serena kind of like used that knowledge
absolutely
to kind of manipulate her? Yeah.
Yep. She's manipulating her in this entire scene.
And she's so conceited. She like takes it as a given that Rita is gonna be happy
Yeah.
about it, and she's gonna help
Yeah.
raise the baby. It's like still this Gilead dynamic. So in Serena's head, nothing has changed.
Mhm.
Right.
Even though
Yeah.
Rita is now a free person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So she's definitely manipulating Rita, 100%.
Yeah, and but like it's sad because it works a bit, you know, with Rita because she's excited it's a boy,
Yeah.
and Serena, you know, because she lost her own son, like you said, and Serena waxes poetic about toy trucks and skin knees and catching frogs, as if a girl can't do those same things. But
I had the same exact
digress.
thought.
Thank you for saying that, Kate.
Annoying, so annoying. And then when Serena says she's missed her lovely Rita, she was always such a blessing. Rita looks sad. I don't know if she's remembering that she was Serena's property here and was treated as such, but she comes back around when Serena asks her to pray with her because Rita's big on praying.
I just wrote down also when she gives her the sonogram, it's more manipulation because she's wanting her to have it at home to look at all the time so she
Yeah.
can like think, you know, here's this baby that I need to help care for. And it's like it would guilt her into it or make her feel
Yeah.
responsible somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and just it's so disgusting the way Serena
Yeah.
does that.
Like I wouldn't have a sonogram of even like, I don't know, my friends' babies on my refrigerator. I don't know.
No, yeah.
Strange.
Even Amanda said in an interview that she thinks that Rita would help with Serena's baby, that's an in character thing. And that's so frustrating to me. I mean, I guess it's like Stockholm syndrome, but also she has a baby that she can help care for, that, you know, she can care for Holly and
Right.
or Nicole, whatever you want to call her. So she doesn't even, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but there's another baby in her life. She does not need Serena and her baby.
I think maybe Rita just is able to separate, like she, you know, she's not going to blame the kid for the parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I wonder if she's thinking like that baby needs care and help and
Yeah, that's true.
would
Holly
want to
has
be
better
there for her. Yeah.
Anyway, it's also complicated.
My only other thing on this scene was that I loved the shot of Serena sitting in the window with the snow falling in the back. I thought it was really nice. It was lovely for a lovely person.
She's just too pretty as a prisoner in all these scenes, and it bothers
Yeah, I
me.
know.
Like her
Yeah.
clothes are so nice.
Like all of them are they've left Gilead, so they don't have to dress up. I would just be in my sweats. Like there's no way I'd be dressing up like that if I was in prison.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yep.
I bet Serena's doing that to maintain the feeling of power though. Like it's
Yeah.
helping her to feel like in control and to give off the appearance of having
I mean, she would do that.
having her shit together. Yeah.
Yeah.
She wants to look good for her boyfriend.
Also, that true. Yes, she's seeing her boyfriend daily. Then June and Janine are freezing to death in the milk train, and June's trying to keep Janine awake for fear she'll die. And Janine says, nah, that's concussions. You can't sleep with one of them. And June says, no, I think it's both. This is kind of funny because I also am very unclear on the concussion thing.
It is true about hypothermia though. I actually looked it up to make sure, but like you're not supposed to go to sleep when your body is really cold because it can slow down like your organ function. So like the blood flow gets slower and your vital organs might not get the blood flow, and that can
Oh
kill
my
you.
God. It's so counter, like you would want to sleep to just get away from the discomfort. Like
I have a hard time sleeping when I'm cold. Like that's
Yeah.
the worst to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm like a little bit cold, I just can't. But my body, like I feel my body temperature drop when I get tired. So that makes sense. That would be part of it.
Janine asks if June has some secret brilliant plan, and June's not, telling her much. And I love this part. Janine says, I'm not a mushroom, I'm not. And June hilariously says, okay.
The way she said that was so funny. She's like, okay.
And then Janine drops a line she must have been working on and saving for a while because it's so good. You can't keep me in the dark and feed me lies and shit and expect me to just be okay with it. Great line.
Reminds me of The Departed. He says something like, my theories on feds is that they're like mushrooms or something. Feed them shit and keep them in the dark or something like that.
Good reference. But June denies that she is treating her like a mushroom, and Janine maintains that she does. And she does. But June thinks the only thing that matters is she's keeping them alive. Then Janine says, they were the nicest, Alma and Brianna. Maybe that's why God wanted them and not us. At least not you. And Janine's being so mean. June shakes her head. That's not how God works. And Janine just continues laying into her. She tells her when they were at the farm, Alma refused to leave without you. She loved you. They all loved you. A real love. And June's on the verge of breaking and says, I know that. And then Janine asks her the big question, did you tell them where to find us? Because we didn't tell anyone where we were going, just like you told us not to. And June says they had her. They had Hannah. I don't know what they were going to do to her. And she was really scared. So yes, I told them where you were. Finally, she says, you would have done the same thing. And Janine says she wouldn't. And she would have, damn it. I hate this argument. All of those women would have done the same thing if their child was in there.
I actually disagree. I think that, like, yes, Janine loves her kids, but I think that, like, Janine's first priority is like her handmaid friends. I don't know if she would have given up the location.
Do you think Janine would have gone through the torture, been able to go through all that without,
I don't
like,
know.
even before seeing Caleb?
I think June would have been able to withstand the physical torture much better than Janine, but I don't know.
But like Janine has some character flaws. Like, what if Putnam came in and said,
Yeah,
I'll marry you if you tell us
Yeah.
where the handmaids are?
I
Like,
think that
she has some flaws that I think could easily be.
she's slightly unstable maybe at times, but
I think in the moment she's just overwhelmed by having just heard what June said. And like, of course she's going to lash out and say, I wouldn't have given it away. But if she thinks about it over time, I'm sure she would like come to realize, like, I think she would have. I think that she loved Caleb and a lot and that she would have. But either way, I think like she's in that moment, she's just really overwhelmed with the whole conversation. And like, you know, sometimes it takes a minute to think things through before you really say what you actually feel. Like you're just kind of saying your initial feelings, not what's really deep down. So this whole conversation is like crushing to me because June has been like constantly having to not feel her own feelings just to keep them alive. It's like even when Alma and Brianna died, like June on the tracks and stuff, like June wasn't able to even like really have her own breakdown because she had to keep Janine moving and make sure that they weren't going to be caught and come up with a plan. And it's like, I mean, I love Janine, but she does expect June to be like a superhero in this situation and not really like let her be a real person and have her own feelings. And it's like, because June is pretty much like mothering Janine the whole time, she can't show how she's feeling because then it's going to make Janine scared. And then the whole thing's going to be like harder for them to stay alive. So I feel like all of her, the mushroom lies that she's telling Janine are just because she needs to tell her something to get her to calm down so that they can move on to the next thing that they have to go and do.
I think that the other handmaids definitely would have understood, like Alma and Brianna, if they were alive. I think they would have understood why June did what she did.
Yeah.
I hope June understands that, and hopefully that gives her some peace too, you know?
Yeah. I've said this on 15 different podcasts now, but she bought them the time. They should have left. Obviously, it makes no sense to stay and wait for her because she's not.
How long was she being
captured.
tortured for?
Days at least.
Days.
A week. Yeah.
I guess they didn't know that she had been captured because they were already gone before she got back.
If she'd shown up, like waiting a day or two, I get.
Yeah.
Maybe she's still coming. But after 2 days, she's been captured. Something's happened. She's very likely to be being tortured, and tell them where you are, you know? So I do not blame June at all.
But Janine saying that to June, that Alma made sure that they all waited for June, it's like putting another layer of guilt on top of everything else June is carrying. So
it's literally the meanest thing she could ever say to her. Like, you killed your friend who was waiting for you. Like,
exactly.
I like to think for me, it would take way more for me to ever say that to my friend. Like,
I think Janine is like boiling as well. So it just came out of her because she needed to process that, and June can take more probably. So I think Janine was just processing and spitting everything out. And that's why when it was too much for June as well, she says, well, I should have left you a long time ago. So it's just June, trying to deal with her own reaction probably.
But when Janine says, that's why they're dead, I wrote down Janine really Aunt Lydia June right there.
Yeah, she did.
Because it felt
your
like
fault.
a shame circle. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why June lashed back out at her, because she was like triggered like the same way she is with Aunt Lydia. Like she was
that's interesting. Yeah.
That's the thing that June can't, that breaks her down, and then she lashes back out. So then she like shouts that at Janine about, I should have left you. And I think that was the moment where it was like she was hitting the nerve that Aunt Lydia had like already exposed previously.
Yeah. It's also sad, but great television. Now we get a Janine flashback. Was really looking forward to learning more about her backstory. She's on the phone. She can't come in for her double shift, but at Denny's, by the way, I think. But she found someone to cover, and she's changing out of her clothes. The woman on the phone is really pressuring her to cancel her doctor's appointment, but Janine says it's time sensitive. So kind of have a clue about that already. And she walks into a clinic, and the volunteer tells her she started volunteering when the birth rate plummets. And there's a huge diagram showing the size of babies at different stages. And pretty quickly, I realized this is one of those clinics that purports to be pro-choice, but in fact, it's entirely anti-choice and intended to guilt women into not getting an abortion. She asks a bunch of questions to decide which direction she needs to go to guilt Janine successfully. Does the father know? Is he your boyfriend? Maybe this will help your relationship. When Janine says sometimes, the woman tells her the fatherhood might make him love you more. Ugh.
Ugh.
So uncomfortable.
Gross.
Yeah. Are you religious? And then she tells her God chose her for this. Abortion is dangerous. I don't want you to go through with it if you don't have to. Janine says she wants to go through with it. The woman reveals they don't even do them here. Complete false advertising, and goes into graphic detail about the process. Implies that extremely rare consequences are common. Tells her all women regret doing this. Says no one is fine after killing her baby. And it's heartbreaking to know that this is actually going on all over our country right now. I mean, it's always been going on, but now more than ever, people are being forced into, guilted into choices that are not right for them.
Being from Australia, I actually didn't really know about these types of clinics, and I was doing a bit of research after watching it. I was like in shock because like these clinics like outweigh like the number of actual abortion clinics, and you can just be anyone and you can put it anywhere. You can put it next to a real abortion clinic. Like taxpayers' money go into these clinics, that it's not illegal. It's just crazy to me.
It is. It's insane that it's not illegal. I mean, it's literally just false advertising.
Yeah, and when she said what the advertising person said, or the woman that was there, she was lying. Like she said after an abortion, a toe or a finger can stay and cause an infection, which in a 6-week-old blob of cells, there are no toes or fingers. So it's a complete lie.
It also bothered me that like the questions that they asked like really didn't have any bearing on like her ability to be a mother either. Like they didn't ask about like,
it's all not important, which is sad, of course.
It's just like frustrating. Like, oh, like, are you religious?
Not do you have a support system? And like, nothing about will you be able to care for this baby? Nothing. They don't care.
Obviously, like Janine is working at Denny's. Like I'm sure she's making $2 an hour. Like
right. She already has a child at home that
they don't know about the other child. They never
didn't ask her.
No.
Yeah, it's infuriating that they don't care once the baby's born at all. No interest at all after that.
The people say like give them supplies up until a certain point, but then after like they just basically once the baby's born they just fuck them off and like that's it. They don't give them any more resources to help them.
I mean, if you imagine like if all of those clinics that are spending that money doing what they're doing changed their whole entire platform to like helping women care for the children that they are having, like the women that actually are trying to have children in a difficult situation, or to help care for like orphans and stuff, like how much better that system would be than trying to force people to have more babies that they can't take care of.
It's awful.
I have another thing. When Roe v. Wade was overturned, Maddie Brewer, I think it was Instagram, shared that she's had, I think, 1 or 2 abortions. So I just thought it was really interesting that she got to play this backstory when she's actually experienced it in real life.
Yeah, and that's so brave of her to say that. Also, I don't know if you saw also Bradley Whitford, men are not often vocal about these things, but Bradley Whitford also tweeted about his experience going to get an abortion with his girlfriend, and it's just so rare that men would even comment. Then there's a knock at Rita's door, and it's Mark Tuello, which is weird. He came to drop off her interview prep materials from Serena's defense attorney. That bitch And why is Tuello doing the work of Serena's lawyers? Like, stop it. He tells her, essentially, Serena wants her to tell the court it was all Fred's fault that she felt the need to force Nick and June to have sex. And Rita responds, did you know in Gilead I was official property of the Waterfords, registered and everything like my old Nissan Altima? And Tuello says he did, yes, but that apparently doesn't matter to him. He's still got the hots for Serena.
At that moment, I felt like even Tuello was not surprised that Serena would try to manipulate her old employee or slave to help her.
Yeah, and to just assume too, you know, like
Yeah.
I would have at least had a second meeting with her and mentioned it or something, but to assume, okay, great, she's gonna help me now because I fucking own her and control her. Like that is infuriating to me. Oh, just sending him over there with the interview materials.
I mean, Serena wants to lean on Rita's like not allowing Rita the opportunity to make a choice, right? Like she's trying to just like make the choice for her because that's how they operated in Gilead, and she feels like she can make Rita fall back into that again here.
Yeah.
It's just so extra infuriating to me.
She doesn't think of Rita as a person who has a choice. She doesn't see her like that. She sees her as it's like a given. It's like she's going to do everything for me. So I'm just going to go with it and send Mark because it's nicer to send Mark.
Fucking boyfriend.
But I felt he wasn't surprised in the end that she did that. I don't know.
Right.
I feel like he wasn't surprised. Like he's kind of
but that's
having
more
it the hots for her
because he still loves her, like likes her.
Yeah.
Then Rita's standing in a conference room, and I was expecting Serena to come in to discuss that scene that just happened, but it's Fred that walks in, and his beard is looking very unkempt. When he asks how Rita is, she refuses to even say that much to him. So she's totally different with Fred than she was with Serena. And he acknowledges she's free to do as she pleases here, not answer his question, and says it's nice to see a friendly face, just like Serena did, but doesn't go over as well. Rita calmly replies, we aren't friends. And he asks why she came, and Rita hands him the sonogram, tells him to deal with his family. It's not her job anymore. And I thank God for that every day. And Fred says he was never cruel to her, and she drops the bomb. I'll pray for your son, and walks out while Fred, like, baffled, opens the envelope to try and figure out what the fuck that meant.
Yeah.
This is such a powerful Rita move. Like, I love it so much. She was like, what can I do that's, I mean, it's like simultaneously like kind of spitting in both their faces because Serena didn't want Fred to know about the baby, and she's the one telling him, and it's so great.
Yeah.
What a great choice, Rita.
I wrote down standing ovation. Really, what she did was perfect. Yes, exactly.
What I found really kind of interesting was that Serena and Fred, like their mindset was kind of reversed. Like usually Fred's the really delusional one, but I feel like when Rita was telling him, well, we're not friends, he accepted it and moved on, whereas Serena still thinks that Rita's basically her property to do what she wished. I mean, Fred tried to be a friend for 5 seconds and then realized, okay, it's bullshit.
Yeah, he even says you are free now here. You have a choice. So
yeah,
surprisingly, he's the one who takes a step back and realizes that he's not in Gilead anymore. And Serena does not do that.
No, he also looks like he's been hit by a truck. But
he looks so rough. Yes.
Which is sad that he wasn't.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just so funny how different
they look.
They are looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think. I guess there was no scene where Serena looked worse because she's been arrested. I mean, they obviously use like makeup and hair and costume to express what's going on in the story.
Yeah, I think Serena's hair looked a bit messy the last episode, but
before the pregnancy announcement, now she's glowing. Yeah, that was brief.
I think she has more of a strategy now, like for how she's going to move forward. So she's like,
things are looking more promising. Yeah. Do you guys remember any interactions between Fred and Rita, like in Gilead?
The only one I can think of is when Serena's giving away the baby to escape at the end of season 2, and Rita's at the bottom of the stairs, and Fred's like, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one I thought of too.
Yeah. I remember him looking for her to make coffee or something once in the kitchen, or tea.
Oh, it was for tea for Serena, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that after her finger was cut off? I don't know. Anyway, Back on the Milk Express, the train stops and there's shooting outside. June deduces it must be Mayday if they're attacking a Gilead train, and they need to get out now and join them. Remarkably, she manages to get a boost from Janine and then open the top. Very impressive. When she gets up there, she sees the Guardians dead, a truck on fire, and people looting. A woman spots her first and aims her gun at her, asking who the fuck she is. Pretty obvious what they are. And she helps Janine out, and Janine adorably says hi. The woman orders them searched, and June asks for help getting to Chicago. She calls them walking targets when a new guy approaches, apparently a leader, and June tells him they'll do anything they say. They need them. Janine asks if they're Mayday, and when June says she doesn't know, Janine says they're mean, but she's obviously got to go with them. As they drive through Chicago, it's obviously been destroyed. There are some people around, possibly even a guy with a stroller. I'm not quite sure that I identified that correctly. I hope I saw that wrong. And the music is sad. June's observing the people in the truck with them who are armed and just trying to get a feel for their position there. I really like the aerial shot of them in the back of the truck in the ruins of Chicago. I like that scene.
Anyone watch The Walking Dead? Because that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, it did feel a lot like that. Yeah. I mean, like, how do they, seems like it would be like hard to, I'd like to know how that was shot.
Drone probably, or a crane, maybe a crane.
No, but like making the whole like street look so like devastated and fucked up. Like it seems like
partly probably.
Yeah, that's what I just assume. It would be too hard.
Just my one note was, okay, Janine boosts her up, right? Okay, I can believe that June can like maybe pick herself up and like unlock the thing, but like she uses one arm to like pull Janine up this whole way. I'm like, damn, she's like Thanos. Like, she's so strong. She's like the Hulk.
Yeah, I would have gone with Hulk over Thanos, but yeah.
Every single time in a movie or a show or anything, when I see somebody pull themselves up and save their life by doing a pull-up, I get like stressed out because there's a 0% chance I can do that. Like,
no, I'd be dead.
I'd
be in that milk train forever.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta work on it. Like, I need to do pull-ups because it seems to happen a lot to people where they have to do a pull-up to survive.
We would never have dropped into that milk train because we know this about ourselves. I would never be able to get out.
But we might be dead, but we wouldn't have to do a pull-up. So
no. So when they go into the abandoned warehouse, there are tons of refugees staring at them. Obviously, they really stand out in their red cloaks, and they follow unfriendly leader dude upstairs to what seems to be the former office of the boss of the warehouse. The guy asks how they escaped. Legend has it handmaids are kept in chains. It's interesting, the misinformation, even close to Gilead. Although I'm sure that's true in some places.
Do you reckon they've ever even seen a handmaid? Because to me, it seems like they'd never seen one.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Probably not in their handmaid gear.
And I don't think they're refugees per se, so they're not Gilead refugees. They're just people that kept fighting for Chicago, so Gilead never reached them. So they are on the kind of, it's not no man's land, but they're in between
the fringes.
Yeah, so they probably never really dealt with real handmaids.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, and he says that next. He says, actual fucking sex slaves in America. Seemingly horrified at that thought. And June says we weren't in America. And he says, well, welcome back. It's a fucking disaster. He's starting to seem cooler. Janine is dizzy. June says she needs to eat. And the dude said, this isn't a charity. What we got off the train is the first we've gotten in weeks. June says they can be helpful. And he says, Teresa will get you some food and clothes. And as they turn to leave, that disgusting motherfucker asks which one of them is staying with him. Either one is fine. I was so fucking shocked at this moment. I don't know why I didn't.
I think you just expect that at this point, because the show, I mean, it's like you still have a bit of a black and white view of things, a little bit, where it's like Gilead is black and then everybody fighting them is good. And that's not the case in real life. And I love that they did that here, but it was absolutely shocking. But I love that they showed like there are shitty people everywhere you go.
Yeah. Just because they're fighting against Gilead doesn't
mean right.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah.
And like Stephen even says like sex slaves in America, like,
and then immediately.
Yeah. It's just
but you know, June says we can be useful, and without knowing them, he thinks this is the only thing they have to offer to be what they've been in Gilead, which is disgusting and totally you know, without compassion for those women who he actually called sex slaves. So he's knowingly Yeah, he's adding to their trauma, but then just assuming they have nothing else to offer, which is absolutely not what June had meant when she said we can be useful.
And somehow like thinking where he says, I'm not going to force you, you guys can just go. Like, how is that not forcing them? Like, what do
you could go die. It's the same as Gilead. You can go to the colonies. We're not forcing you to be handmaids.
But they have the choice to leave. And in Gilead, they wouldn't have had the choice to leave.
That's true, but he did say earlier, like, I thought, or somebody said, I thought you guys were chained up. So it's like, they're literally like, they're not physically chained up, they're mentally chained up. So it's kind of a similar thing where they're being mentally, I mean, I get what you're saying totally. They couldn't have just walked out of Gilead, where they could have walked out of the building.
Exactly.
It was crazy to me too that the lady behind him, like, she didn't even look disgusted. Like, she didn't try to stop him. Like, does this happen all the time? She wasn't sure.
Probably.
Most of the women, he probably had them do sexual favors for him, at least at the beginning, so they could earn their keep, you know?
And then he said, guess you're used to this.
Yeah, that was terrible. Like,
yeah.
I do like to see like that June has like reached her limit though. Like,
yes, I like that too. I thought she was going to do it.
I know, I thought so too. Like,
yeah,
but I think
thought she was going to bite his dick off.
I was hoping that would be the case. Maybe not bite, but do something with her hands, make him feel a bit of pain.
Yeah, I just wrote when he says, I guess you're used to this, like pig. All episodes should just be called pigs in this fucking show. I hate everyone. And she reaches to his zipper with shaking hands, and he tells her he's not going to force her. They can just go. And she can't do it. She stands up. She says, you aren't Mayday, are you? And he asks, what's Mayday? The Lawrence rape really seemed like it was the last straw for her.
Yeah.
Because, Winslow tried to rape her too.
Yeah, she's done doing that.
Yeah.
She's definitely not used to it, as Steve suggested. She is absolutely done with it. Yeah.
So she goes to find Janine and tells her that they have to go. And Janine's worried he hurt her at first. And June just shakes her head and says, we'll go somewhere else. We'll find somewhere safe. And she's so traumatized and scared. And Janine's super kind. And she tells June she should change first and looks up at the office. So I immediately assumed she was about to do what she was about to do. And I was so sad for her.
Did you notice that she chose a red sweater?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. It is surprising. That surprised me too.
She's just so used to it, maybe. Like, she just can't. It's like, that's just almost like a weird comfort or something. I don't know. Like, it seems unsafe to wear red too, though, right? Like, I don't know.
Yes.
I would be
like she
concerned they're going to be more recognizable in the color that you left Gilead in, you know?
Yeah. Another Janine flashback. An adorable Caleb comes running into the room as she's looking at a pamphlet intended to convince women not to abort. And she takes him to bed and sings Three Little Birds to put him to sleep. And her voice is absolutely beautiful. I want to hear her sing in every episode. As she sings, don't worry about a thing because everything's going to be all right. She's back in a doctor's office and a doctor comes in, asks if the nurse had a chance to go, a real doctor, asks if the nurse had a chance to go over all the options with her, and Janine gets super defensive, rolling through reason after reason why she wants to do this, and the doctor stops her. This is not that kind of place. If you don't want to be pregnant right now, and you're comfortable with that decision, that's all I need to know. By law, she has to tell her that abortions can cause infertility, breast cancer, etc. And then she says, and not by law, I can tell you that's a load of crap. And Janine tells her about the earlier experience, and the doctor shakes her head and tells her those places advertise themselves as crisis pregnancy centers so they can lie to women to guilt them into not aborting, and gives her the pills she needs to abort and tells her she's already done the hard part. I appreciated that scene coming after the other one. But the other thing about those crisis pregnancy centers that are lying is they stall like valuable time that they need, Somebody decides to get an abortion because their baby is just, a cell, like you said, Helen, and it takes them a week to get an appointment at this place. They think they can get an abortion, and then they get there and they're like, no, we don't do abortions, and you have to start all over. And then, they purposefully are wasting valuable time.
Did you guys think before Caleb came out, did you guys wonder if this whole episode was about her choosing whether or not to abort Caleb?
Yeah.
I'm glad that they didn't go that way.
Mm-hmm. Seeing him was the worst though, like knowing that he dies. Like, I was just like, holy shit, this is sad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know it yet. I thought June was going to tell her in the milk truck.
Oh my God.
Glad she didn't.
Then we're back with Rita, and she's opening store-bought sushi. She says her silent prayer. She's still very religious, but then she smiles as she breaks apart her chopsticks and she's got her Diet Coke, and she looks like giddy, like little kid happy. She's finally breaking free of Gilead a little bit in this episode, and I love that scene.
I wrote down Rita celebrating fucking over the water first with some sushi.
Yes.
Yay!
Perfect.
That's exactly what she's doing. That's why she's so proud of herself.
I also just love that it's in that little like plastic takeout container. It's so like everything about it is so anti-Gilead, like the whole image of it.
Right.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful scene as well, with the light
Wonderful.
coming through the window with the
She
glass
looks like an
bottles.
angel.
Yeah, she looks beautiful, and the way she's so careful with everything and arranging everything, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Now we're with June, angrily changing her clothes. I mean, how fucking disappointing and infuriating must it be to finally return to America and find the rebels, and it's the exact same bullshit as Gilead. My heart broke for her, and I really hope that asshole gets blown to smithereens. She stares down at her handmaid outfit on the floor, probably thinking about how little had changed. And she's got a yellow sweatshirt on now. And Janine shows up and confirms my fears. She gives June some food and says, "Here, we can stay. It wasn't so bad. He thinks my eye patch is cool." June says, "I'm sorry." And Janine says it's okay. She seems okay, almost happy that she was able to take care of them maybe when June couldn't. Like, not in a mean way, but in a feeling useful way.
Yeah, I feel like June couldn't do it for once. June is always saving her. I feel like she was kind of happy she could help her, even though it wasn't really in a way that, you know, anyone would have liked, but she did it and she's okay and she's helped them.
Yeah. Obviously thinking of 201 in this when she's taking off the handmaid's outfit. Yeah, and the last time she took it off and burned it, and this time she doesn't. But yeah, that was similar. A couple of the shots, I guess, on her like shoulders and head were similar, I thought.
When Janine comes back from giving that disgusting human a blowjob, she's actually wearing blue now. I wasn't sure whether they did that on purpose. So she's wearing red when she goes and does what she does with Stephen, and then when she comes back, she's wearing blue. So it was a bit of like I wasn't sure if they'd done that on purpose, showing that she was still wearing red and she's still doing
handmade things,
and then she comes back and she's in blue.
Yeah,
that's interesting. But I have to rave again about this perfect shot of Lizzie in that soft, cool light that's coming through the dirty windows, and so she looks kind of soft around the edges, like not defeated, but like something went quiet in her. So she's not defeated, but you can see, and you can see that, you know, all the weight that she's bearing, and she's thankful that Janine did it, even though she feels like she should have done it herself. But she looks like, you know, like the music that's playing in the background, she looks like that, just quiet and desolate and somber and sad. So perfect shot.
Yeah. I wonder too if like it's kind of hard at this point for June to accept when people do things like that for her. Like, you know what I mean? Because she's so used to being in control and being the one that's taking care of everyone. So it's like, you know, it's like when it's hard to ask for help when you're the one who's usually helping people. It's a similar thing. Like, I wonder if it's like, I don't know. But also has to feel really good too that she like is supported by Janine now when she's been helping Janine through all of this.
And Janine didn't ask or tell her. She just did it and has taken care of June in that moment without letting June even know about it or have something to say about this. She just did it. So, you know, a give and take kind of situation.
Nice. But yeah, a horrible thing for her to have to do, just reiterate.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Nice that she did it, but horrible that she did it, you know. There was one more little tiny thing I was going to mention is the shot of through the tubes, through those like long tubes of metal or whatever they were, like the little circles. It's kind of like the circles in the milk truck. And then somebody also mentioned the circles from the box that she was in episode 4-3 in the torture box. It's interesting. They've done a lot with like little circles of light. I don't know what that means exactly, but it's an interesting like aesthetic choice that they keep showing things through those little circles. You guys think it means anything? Might just be pretty.
I mean, I think that it has in the past been used to represent, you know, I don't know, torture, her being
or like her
not free.
Yeah.
And like focusing on
pinpoints of
aspects
of light.
But also aspects of June, right? She's not just the same person all the time, but there are moments when she's like she's with Janine, she has to play a role, so there are little parts of her that, you know, come to focus in different scenes. So she's like a collection of small things, whatever.
That's a good way to think of it. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Okay, I think that's a wrap on our spoiler-free analysis of this episode. If you're a longtime fan, hang on a minute, not a whole minute, just a few seconds, and we will discuss the episode in the context of the show to date, which is through season 4. All right, who's got deep dive notes?
I was just going to say that obviously Janine doesn't seem fazed by what she did with Stephen, but I'm wondering whether if that's just because she's so used to it now and just keeps it all inside, and whether if she does ever get to Canada, it would kind of not explode, but feel very differently about it.
I think that Janine is very different than June because I feel like she falls in love easily with these men that she's having sex with, like Putnam. And I don't know if it's just like a Stockholm syndrome response, but June obviously doesn't feel that way about like Fred. But whereas Janine, I think it like is more real to her. Like she has like an emotional tie to the men.
Yeah, I think it's upsetting to me like how quickly she feels she falls in love, you know, the fact that basically she chooses Stephen over June after hardly knowing him, after the relationship started out, you know, with a not really consensual blowjob, and you know she changes her decision, she goes after June, but it bothers me that she doesn't put her women friends higher above male love interest.
I think she might, you know, connect the sexual part with very strong emotions, maybe kind of an emotions of being accepted by someone or being accepted by someone. So maybe she's a kind of person who needs that kind of attention, and when she gets it, mostly it's connected to sex, so it goes hand in hand with her maybe. And with June, it's definitely not the case.
No.
Right. And since Janine's like seeking that, she's able to overlook a lot of things with the men.
Yeah. She misses her children. She wants to give herself a bit of hope.
Yeah.
So maybe the idea of staying with Stephen and trying to have a baby, it's like what's Alma said at the farm. This is the freedom we're gonna get. Let's make the best out of it. So maybe that's kind of what Janine slightly naively wants to realize in her life. I don't know.
Slightly naive. Having a baby in a war zone, I believe, exceeds slight naivete. When she says that, I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine?
I think you're right though. I think she's just trying to like make her current situation into something livable and bearable, and not think about getting out really. Like she's just thinking like, if I'm here forever, what do I want? Or what can make this work?
When Moira says to Rita about Serena, like going to be able to like see her in person and like say your piece to her face, like she's like, a lot of girls would kill for that. I just thought of June getting the opportunity like later on to say her piece to Serena, and how it's a very different interaction from Rita and Serena to June and Serena.
Yeah, it's such a like stunning scene. I didn't know how June would act either, but it's so different. And it's just so interesting because they've not always had that relationship. She's not always been like furious with her, you know, at times when she had the opportunity to be, but not ever an opportunity like this, obviously.
I did have one note that COVID kind of ruined Janine's flashback a little bit, because when she was supposed to be coming out of the abortion clinic, there was supposed to be protesters and things like that, but they couldn't do it due to being, you know, too many people.
I just wanted to say that maybe why Janine picked out the red sweater is maybe similar in reason to why June wore her red coat to see Nick in 409. And if I remember correctly, in one of the interviews, Bruce Miller said that June wears red because it calms her anxieties, because she's supposedly entering Gilead again. So it's something that it's like a cloak that makes her feel safe, which in this case is literally a cloak, but with Janine, it's the red sweater, is something that she knows, something that's comfortable,
familiar, yeah,
not comfortable. Yeah, so it calms, and it's a difficult and stressful situation being in that warehouse and not knowing what's going to happen the next minute. So this is something that she knows that it's familiar, and it matches her eye patch.
Yes, exactly. That's really what it comes down to.
I mean, I guess if you think about like how many years they've been in one color the whole time, and it's almost like they've been accustomed to having zero change in their lives, like nothing changes. So a change, like a sudden change, would probably be really jarring and uncomfortable, like regardless of like what that is. Like if there's something in your routine, obviously going to Canada is a billion changes at once. So having the red is like a small thing they can do to, like, I don't know, like not have the change be so dramatic, I guess, and so like overwhelming.
Also in the next, I think it's the next episode when June exchanges the code for, was it a cap? Was it a Cubs cap? What is she exchanging her code for?
Worst trade ever. Yes, a Cubs hat. Two cloaks for a Cubs hat.
But she looks after them when the guy puts them away, even though in this episode she kind of rips the clothes off.
Oh yeah.
When she has to exchange it, there's a moment like she's, I don't know, longing, maybe it's the wrong word, but it's like something is definitely 100% changing, and she knows it's like a cut in her life, maybe.
Yeah. I have an answer. That TV Line interview that you referenced, Kimberly, has the answer to has Steven ever seen Handmaids before? So JC Heldrick said, "We were excited to get to Chicago. We spent so much time researching it, and we spent so much time reading about Aleppo and Kabul. Like, what do these cities have that have been decimated, but they haven't really been occupied yet? What is life like there? So our conception of Chicago is that it's not Gilead. They are rebels, but they are more just still fighting a war. And as such, Stephen and his people are Americans, and they've heard rumors about handmaids, but they've never seen a wife. They've never seen a handmaid. All they have are the kind of rumors that manage to trickle in through supply chains or through deserters. And it becomes clear that June hadn't considered that there might be groups other than Mayday involved in the fight against Gilead. She had more of a Star Wars image in her head," Bruce Miller said, laughing. I love Star Wars. Good reference.
They also seem to love Star Wars.
They do. All of them. This season is about patience rewarded, Littlefield added. We've heard about the flare-ups in Chicago. We know there's a rebellion going on. Nick was sent to deal with that. Well, this year, now June gets to see for herself what that's about and insert herself in the middle of it.
It's just so crazy to me that they have like rumors about what's happened, and there's still this guy that literally is just disgusting, and like no one else seems to have any compassion for them, like whatsoever.
Yeah, nobody has any. Yeah. It's written so well.
Yeah, it's believable, right? Because if they've never had contact with it, they don't have TV, they can't watch it on TV.
Also, not everybody's fighting for the same reasons. Like he's fighting to keep his he's not fighting for women's rights. He's fighting to Chicago. So it's interesting.
Exactly.
But it's so upsetting. You think that they're fighting against this concept of handmaids and such, but he's not. He doesn't give a shit. No. And then Maddie said a little more too. When June decides not to sexually service Stephen in order to gain admittance to his group of fighters, Janine chooses to do so as a matter of keeping them both safe and fed. And Maddie says, at that point, Janine is just like, this means nothing to me. I don't feel morally corrupt by doing this. I don't feel like I'm sacrificing any part of myself to do this. What I'm doing is solidifying our place in this camp, getting us food, getting us warm clothes, getting us a place to sleep. This is how I can help because you care and I don't give a fuck. That's what I'm going to do for you because you're my friend and I love you and you can't do it and that's okay. I'll do what needs to be done. So, like we said, but it's
that's interesting.
Maddie's words, yeah. Okay, I think that's a wrap on our analysis of season 4, episode 4. Come back on Thursday when we discuss season 4, episode 5. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.